Ever wondered how to use one of these beauties? No, it's not for dusting.
This is a Roymac Dagger. It's often said to be the brush with the least control, but in actual fact, it's the brush that can deliver when others can't. Daggers have been used for centuries, both by oil artists and also for decorative lettering. Did you know they use them in the automotive trade for pinstripes and those fancy decorative swirls on trucks? It's made from the finest quality squirrel hair. It has a tapered flat head shape and it's about 2 inches long.
As we go along, referring to this as the sword, the belly, the tip, the back.
This brush holds an enormous amount of water. Let me show you what I mean.
The first thing to do is to make sure you've fully saturated it in your water jar and then in your paint. So turning it on its side and massaging it a little and then flipping it over to make sure all that tea-like paint gets into the brush.
Now let's see how far we can go.
Now this is on a flat surface. If I had tilted this paper,
I would have gotten a lot further. But when the paper's tilted, I'll be creating a bead that will feed my brush even further, and I'll be able to fill the whole page smoothly.
I'm still not finished, look. There we go. So that was how much water it can hold. These types of daggers are such that you really need to use your whole arm. So I'm not resting my wrist or my elbow. I'm using my whole arm as I practice making lines. This one is more about just letting your whole arm loose and see how you go. But look, all this is with one brush stroke and we haven't finished yet. The pressure is fairly light because I don't have to press hard and there's loads of paint in the brush. And it's not finished. Look, I can keep going. This is all with one brush load.
Imagine how long this line would be if we did a straight line.
Looks like this now, but the paint's still there. I wasn't able to paint with the tip anymore, but I painted with this belly side. But if I turn the brush around, I can still, no, there's not much paint left in there, but look, there is a tiny little bit. Which ultimately means that if you needed to have some really thin lines like this, you could. You just have to be aware of how much paint is in your brush. Okay, so that was an exercise to try. Now for the next one. I'm loading it up again and wiping it on the side so it's not too full, because we know it is a full brush. Now I'm going to lay it on the sword part and keep it in the one position like this. And so it's basically a shape like, that's the movement that we're doing. So you go up a little bit and then
By practicing and varying your pressure, you'll get the hang of the power of the brush. You'll strengthen your muscle memory, and then by knowing what you can do with your brush, you'll gain the confidence to let loose and speed up. And with speed, you'll create smoother, more spontaneous strokes that you never imagined possible. Even though the brush can hold so much paint, I'm continually reloading because I want to make sure it's full and to straighten it in the process. Straight and flat works best. I find this kind of repetitive practice very therapeutic, and there's something really beautiful in the simplistic patterns created.
we're going to do a similar stroke, but this time we'll start with the point. So with the tip, do a bit of the tip, then do a bit of the body of the brush, and then lift up to do the tip, to use the tip again. So it'll be a bit like this. So we're going from the tip with hardly any pressure, laying down some pressure as we do the broader stroke, and lifting our arm to get to the little
Tail on the end. They take some getting used to, but with a desire to learn, along with some patience, you can achieve amazing results, especially in your floral artwork as well as in landscapes, trees, and also abstract work.
Now let's try something a little bit leafy. I'm adding some more Moon Glow paint by Daniel Smith. I am getting the excess out because I know I have enough in there. I'm going to paint a stem, a line like this, and then one out. And now we can do some leaves. If I lay my whole sword down onto the line, so I laid it down, I went up and then to the side, you could have a stroke like that. This was a little bit of an S type of shape. So just like we did on the previous page, it was light pressure, more pressure, and then light pressure. And if we do that, we can end up with some nice leaves. But you know, when you try this for yourself, you will see, just allow yourself the freedom to not think about paper, not think about paint, but just the beautiful enjoyment of just pure practice and not caring what comes out, just allowing yourself indulgence of doing that. With this brush, we're also able to get different other strokes when we don't use the whole brush. Just use, this is using the sword and pressing down onto the sword. That could make a beautiful palm of sorts. Look how far you can get. So something like that. Or little leaves like that. I'll make the paint a little bit thicker now. If I'm painting something like that, I will load the brush so that the area of the brush that I want to use has got a lot of paint in it. This is just stamping. I'm now going to turn my brush, and yes, it delivers on the other side as well without redipping. You can also create little leaves just with the tip. Like that. Or long things. So when your brush is a little bit dry on the end, and even if it looks like that, it doesn't matter, you can make beautiful shapes that look like that. Incidentally, this is also because the paper underneath is a little bit wavy from it being wet on the other side, but you can still get a broken line like that on cold press paper. So here's just a little piece of cold press paper. See that? Here's another little piece of watercolor paper, and I'm just going to press it on. And look at those beautiful shapes. Nearly look like butterfly wings. Now, I'm washing my brush thoroughly, and then I need to squeeze out the water, squeeze it out, and flatten the brush between my fingers. And then I can let it dry, and it's ready for its next use.
I love exploring these brushes and seeing what they can do. What's your favourite dagger? Or do you have one that needs to be explored? Let me know in the comments. I'll be doing a few more of these demos on different brushes, and you never know, you might just discover your new favourite brush.
This was a demo on the soft floppy style of dagger brush, which really is a more specialised type of brush. The firmer, shorter ones are far easier to manage and practically a must in your toolbox. If you'd like to learn about them, see these videos on the screen and you'll wonder how you ever lived without them.